So just to close out before I turn it over to my colleagues, I'll just say a little bit more about the whole robot soccer initiative that we're a part of. This is one of the think big grand challenges, and the goal is by the year 2050 to beat the World Cup champions, the real human soccer players on a real soccer field. We're still a long way from doing that, but if you look at some of the differences from the early years, here's what RoboCup looked like back in 1997 and 1998. There were robots that could score goals. They would fall over, they would get up, but they were actually operating very slowly. It's sort of painful to watch right now, looking back, but it was a huge success back then to get robots that could actually do the sensing, deciding, and acting all together. If you look ahead just 10 years from that, the robots improved dramatically. And these are robots not just from my own lab, but from colleagues around the world. And there's, again, I know there's a very large community and history of robot soccer here in South Korea as well. And this, again, is 10 years past. If you look to see the progress since then, we're getting closer and closer to really intelligent robots. This isn't magic. None of this is happening through mysterious processes. This is the result of long, hard work by lots of people around the world to make it more and more a reality. So in the interest of time, so that I can leave lots of time for questions and answers, I'm not going to go into too much more detail about what we've done in this domain, except just to say that it's been a wonderful, motivating domain for research to create new algorithms that can be generally applicable. And one of the analogies we make is the dream is similar to the Apollo mission of landing a man on the moon. There's not really a practical benefit to having a man on the moon. There's not a practical benefit to having a team of robots that can beat human soccer players. But to make it possible, we're going to have to solve some real difficult challenges that will have very broad applicability. So just one example is in robot vision, and I'm not going to go through the details here, but there's been huge advances in computer vision. Robot vision is more challenging for a number of reasons. Just to give you a sense, here's what it looks like through the camera of a robot that's trying to play soccer. We have to write the computer programs that can actually process these images in real time, and we've created algorithms to make this possible. I'll just show you I say that we're trying to get robots to beat the best World Cup team on a real soccer field. Every year for the past 5 or 6 years, we have had games of robots against people. Here's me and some of my colleagues playing against these robots that were the champions from 2011. And the people who made the robots said, you should never play against these robots. They're gonna hurt you. They're too fast for you. They're too good for you. But here we showed that even middle-aged amateur soccer players are still able to score on the robots. That goal didn't count because I was called for offsides, but we're still able to beat the robots. But every year it gets a little more difficult. We're not sure if it's because the robots are getting better or if because we're getting older. It's probably a combination of both. But there's a lot of progress happening. So with that, I'll just close by saying, to look forward, there's a lot of excitement in artificial intelligence and robotics. You can get a lot of information in the AI 100 report that I talked about at the beginning, but keep in mind that artificial intelligence is not magic. There are well-defined algorithms behind it. Keep in mind that it's not one thing, that you can't just make advances in artificial intelligence and then sprinkle it on top of other things to make them more intelligent as well. It requires concerted effort in lots of different individual areas. And also that artificial intelligence itself is neither all good nor all evil. In fact, a lot of what determines how the impact of how AI will impact our society depends on the people who will use it. And that's up to you, that's up to our societies, that's not just up to the developers, it's up to the people who will be using the technologies that are being created. So I'll now turn over to keep these, and I ask you to please keep these points in mind as you hear from my colleagues, Pindar van Armen, who works on painting robots, and Marita Chang, who works on robotics for people in need, both doing very inspiring work. And then we'll come back for questions. I'll come back for questions afterwards. Thank you.